The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is a Week 2 NRL Finals preview. Just done by myself, so I hope you enjoy this one. It should be a little bit of fun talking about the finals by myself, so I thought I'd give it a crack anyway. This is coming from a fan's point of view, not an expert's point of view, but I do watch a lot of rugby league, as you would know. So anyway, let's give it a crack anyway. So the first game up is tomorrow, or Friday night, 7:50pm, being played at Allianz Stadium in Sydney, the old SFS if you like to call it that one. But it is the Sharks taking on the Cowboys, fourth taking on fifth, but this is a elimination game. Now, the winner of this game will go on to play the Penrith Panthers in the prelim final next week. But for starters, this game here. Between these two sides, they've played 5 times in finals, dating back to 2013. The last one was in 2022, and that one was at PointsBet Stadium, and that was the Valentine Holmes. He kicked the 2-point field goal to win the game for the Cowboys, and they got a prelim final in 2022 against Parramatta up there in North Queensland, which fortunately for myself and thousands of other Eels fans, the Eels got the win on that day. But this is the Cowboys and the Sharks, nothing to do with the Eels. Look, they've played, as I said, 5 times in finals. The Cowboys have won 3, the Sharks have won 2. At this venue in Allianz Stadium, there's been 3 finals games. Cronulla have won 2 and the Cowboys won. 2017, the Cowboys won 15-14 with a Michael Morgan field goal. Now, on that day, there was 16,115. I wonder if there will be more than that on Friday night. I am tipping there will be. I think there will be decent amount of people there. There will be in excess of, I'm going to say 25,000. So I'm going to tip about a 28,000 crowd, I reckon, at Allianz Stadium. The Cowboys have won the last 2 finals between these two sides. As I said, the last one being at PointsBet Stadium, where Valentine Holmes kicked the 2-point field goal. And funnily enough, in the premiership years for these two sides, they both played finals. So in 2015, in the semi-final, the Cowboys won 39-0, where obviously the Cowboys went on to win the premiership that year. And in 2016, the year that the Sharks won the comp for the first time, these two sides played in the prelim final and at Allianz Stadium, and the Sharks won 32 points to 20. Now, this is all; those stats are all thanks to Rugby League Project. So check them out. That's where I get all my information from. the Rugby League Project. So check them out. Great stuff, guys, what you're doing there. I really appreciate it. Now, this year, 2024, these two sides have played twice. The first one was in round 7, the Sharks winning that one 42 points to 6. But the Cowboys got the revenge win, I guess you could say, in round 21, winning 30 points to 22. Kyle Felt on fire that day, 3 tries in that game. Now, if we take a look at both these sides, you could think that both teams can score points, but it's the Cowboys' defence that's a worry. They've let in an extra 100 points compared to the Sharks. But one of the things that has been really talked about this week, I guess, is Nicho Hynes. He's the main man, I guess you could say, for the Cronulla Sharks. And there has been a lot of outside noise. Now, do you think that is getting to the Sharks? I guess they just have to try and block that all out and play their own game. I guess it must be tough, though, with the media world these days and everyone reporting on it. The fact that the Sharks have lost their last 7 finals. They haven't won a finals game since 2018. And I guess that could be a little bit of a concern. And look, they would know that record. They haven't won a finals game since 2018, and look, it will be concerning for them, obviously, but they will be trying to do the best that they can to erase that record. And look, is the Nicho Hynes talk, is that fair? Well, look, I mean, it must be difficult for Nicho. Obviously, he spent a little bit of time this year on the sidelines with injury. He's only just started to come back into this Cronulla Sharks side. We've all seen the game that he played in Origin a couple of years ago where he came off the bench, unfortunately missed a tackle. Look, that game was probably not fair to, I guess you could say, criticise Nicho because he was playing out of position. Game 1, State of Origin this year in Sydney, he was the halfback for New South Wales. Mitchell Moses was unavailable at the time, and Queensland beat New South Wales, and a lot of questions again were being asked about Nicho and big game experience and where is he in big games. So, look, I guess it must be tough for Nicho Hynes. There was a little bit of talk about him potentially going back to fullback. I don't know where that would have left Will Kennedy, but that could have brought Daniel Atkinson, who is in this side, number 14, so a pretty handy number 14 to have in your side. He would have come into the halves, but look, it must be difficult for Nicho. I think I heard on the sports news channels that an interview with Nicho, and he just has come out and said, look, he's just got to control his game. He's just got to control what he can control and worry about that worry about that side of things. He's not worried about the outside noise. He's just trying to block that all out, and hopefully he can come up with a game-winning performance. What do the Sharks need to do differently this week to last? Well, the start of the game, obviously, that's got to be different to last week. Last week they missed the ball off the kickoff, or Will Kennedy, I think, touched it and it went dead, and then the Melbourne Storm scored within the first minute and a half of the game through Cameron Munster. So obviously the start is crucial for the Sharks. They don't want to start like that again. I think they just need to get off to a good start, because in finals you want to get off to that good, fast, hard start. Probably lead from the front in finals. That will give you score first. That will give you confidence. So I think that's what the Sharks need to do a little bit differently as well. Is Nicho the man to watch, or who else do I think will be the player to watch for the Sharks? Well, look, obviously Nicho will be running this team around on Friday night against the Cowboys. But I guess if that is the case, who else are the players that will stand up for the Sharks and potentially get them a victory? Look, Braden Trindle, he did a pretty good job whilst Nico was out. Obviously, he can't be discounted in terms of a player to watch. I think Blake Brayley in the hooking position, he will be one to watch. He can dart out a dummy half here and there. Look, I think Britton Nikora as well, he is a great second row player. I think the battle with Helam Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai will be a big one with Britton Nikora. Cameron McInnes, I get that wrong again. Look, he's a warhorse, isn't he? We saw in the press conference last week, he had all these cuts all over his face, but he'll do 1,000 tackles a game. He was probably their inspirational captain, I guess you could say. He will be crucial as well, but I really do think that Nico is the player that will have to lead this Sharks team around and obviously try and create that spark for them, get them going, get them on the front foot anyway as well. Look, if we flick over to the Cowboys side of things, do they have an advantage with having Origin players, Origin experienced players in their team, more so than the Sharks? Look, I think it is. I think, obviously, if they've played Origin, and we're talking about Tommy Dearden, Valentine Holmes, Murray Tuilagi, obviously Ruben Cotter as well, Reece Robson this year for New South Wales. I think that is an advantage because they know what it's like to play in big games. So having that number of players in their side that have played Origin, I think that is a bit of an advantage for them. Will it work on Friday night? Look, it potentially could. We know that the Cowboys can score points, but their defence is a concern. We saw last week that Kalen Ponga, he split the defence a couple of times. One led to a try, one led to a possible try, but unfortunately Dane Gagai dropped the ball. So we do know that the Cowboys can score points, but they do let a lot in as well. And speaking of that, they will throughout the season. They have let in about another 80 to 100 odd points than the Sharks. But they've basically scored about 20 odd more than the Sharks in points scored for them. So we do know, as I said before, we do know that they can score points, but they can let in a lot of points. So they need to tighten up their defence if they are a chance of winning this game. I think the Cowboys also probably have a little bit of a attacking, I guess you could say, advantage as well. When I think of the Sharks' attack, I think obviously Nico Hines is involved, Braden Trindle as well. Sifa Talakai in the centres, he's just a hard-running centre. We do know that the wingers can score a try or two. Sione Katawa and Ronaldo Mulatalo, we do know they can score a try in the corners, but they're generally the finishers. But in terms of attacking players, I think the Cowboys have a few more. Obviously, Tom Dearden, Scott Drinkwater, Valentine Holmes to an extent as well. So I think they do have a few more attacking weapons. We have seen Kyle Felt finish off a try or two in the corner. Even some of their back rows, Jeremiah Nanai, he can be a attacking player as well. So, look, I do think they do have a few more attacking players than the Sharks, so that will be interesting. That's probably where all their points will come from. And as I mentioned before, Jeremiah Nanai and Britton Nickera, two exciting back rowers playing some good footy. That should be a good battle between those two. I think we saw also another good battle will be Blake Brayley versus Reece Robson as well. That'll be a good battle, I think. I think one to watch anyway as well. In terms of a score prediction, look, haven't really thought about this one too much. It was pretty much a quick guess, as is probably guessing the score anyway each week. But I'm going to go 28-18 to the Cowboys, and I will say that Murray Tuilagi is the first try scorer in this game. So the number 5 for the Cowboys. But look, this should be an interesting one. I don't know if this will dent the confidence of the Sharks if they do go on to lose this one. That will be 8 finals games in a row that they have lost. We have seen them be pretty consistent over the last couple of years in the regular season, but it's just these big games at the end of the year that they seem to, I guess you could say, fail at the final hurdle. Week 2's usually exits, and look, as a Parramatta supporter, we have been there before 2022 anyway, where we had some straight sets exits from the finals. So we know what the Sharks are going through, but it definitely would be a worrying thing if they do go on to lose this game. I said it to a few people earlier on in the week that I think possibly the Cowboys could be a little bit of a smoky in terms of winning this competition. Look, no doubt it is a Penrith or Melbourne premiership to lose. They are the two front runners. They are the two favourites. The minor premiers and obviously the three-time in a row premiers, I should say, the Penrith Panthers. But if there's one team that I think could possibly do it, I think it could be the Cowboys. But they'll have to get over the Sharks first of all this weekend, which I think they will. So look, check that one out. Friday night, 7:50 p.m. at Allianz Stadium. Now the next game is being played between two, I guess you could say, traditional rivals, I guess. They've been around for a while now. The Roosters taking on the Sea Eagles, again at Allianz Stadium, 7:50 p.m. on Saturday the 21st of September. And look, this should be a cracker of a game. The Roosters finished in third spot. They went down to the Panthers last week. The Sea Eagles, they had that come-from-behind win against the Bulldogs at Accor Stadium in front of 50,000 people. Interesting little stat here. These two teams played in Vegas in round 0 at the start of the year. So they have made it to the finals. The other two teams, the Broncos and the Rabbitohs, failed to make the finals. So I don't know what that has got to do with anything, to be honest. But just a little, I guess you could say, quirky little fact that they're both Vegas teams. Now, when it comes to finals, they have played 9 times in finals, dating back to 1972, with the last time that they played in a final was 2021. The Sea Eagles hold the ledger, 6 wins to the Roosters 3 at Allianz Stadium, the old SFS in finals. They've played 3 times. The Manly have won twice, and the Roosters won. In finals, 96 and 97 at Allianz Stadium. Manly won there. That was during their pretty dominant period, 95, 96, 97, where they lost won a comp and then went down to Newcastle. So they were pretty dominant in those 3 years, only coming away with the one premiership victory there. For the Roosters, obviously, Those 3 games at Allianz Stadium. I'm getting myself confused here. So 3 times at Allianz, 96-97 where Manly won, and 2013 where the Roosters won in the qualifying final, the year that they went on to win the competition, ironically, against the Roosters. Against the Sea Eagles. The last final that they played was, as I mentioned, in 2021. That was in Mackay. In front, Manly won 42 points to 6. That had to do with the COVID pandemic that was being around the world, where the competition moved to Queensland. In that season, the grand final that year was Penrith and South Sydney, played at Suncorp Stadium in 2021. So the final before that one was the 2013 grand final. That was played in front of 81,491 people, which the Roosters won 26 points to 18. So this year, it's the same as the Sharks and Cowboys. It's 1-1 between these two sides. It was 21-14 into a win to Manly, round 2 at Brookvale Oval, and then round 21, same round that the Sharks and Cowboys last played each other. The Roosters won 34-30 at Allianz Stadium. So once again, those stats brought to you by Rugby League Project. So if you ever need to know any stats or about players, games, clubs, etc., then check out Rugby League Project. Just Google Rugby League Project. And once again, thanks guys, you're doing a great job there with providing us rugby league lovers with all this information. Now look, I'm going to start with the Roosters. We all know that they have a cruel injury toll. That's been for a couple of weeks now. We have known that Brandon Smith and Sam Walker are out for years, or for the year. And Victor Radley, he has been out for a few weeks as well now, but he has been named in the number 22 jersey on the extended reserves bench. Do I think he will play? Look, I think, yes, he will play. I think he will play. He'll be named to play in this side against the Sea Eagles. I think he will. This is sort of like a last hurrah, I guess you could say, for the Roosters. They have to have their best players in there. I think he will play, that is for sure. But even still, it's a pretty decent side, the Roosters side. If you go through it, I mean, James Tedesco is still there, Joseph Swali is there, Joe Manu, Dom Young, Luke Keary, and the big one for the Roosters is Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. He comes back in the side as the starting prop. Now, we all know Jared, he loves these sort of games, these big games. The big question will be, will he get Simbin in this game? Because he is a firebrand, but he will want to go out there and win this game because he won't want to make this his last Roosters game. And he will be fired up. He loves this first 10 to 15 minutes against Taniela Paseka and Matt Lodge. Look, that is going to be a battle there. Matt Lodge playing against his old club. Apparently he didn't leave the Roosters on good terms. But I guess those two, Jared and Matt Lodge, will be probably going at it. As will Lindsay Collins and Taniela Paseka as well. He's a big unit, Taniela Paseka. He is a massive human. I would not want him running at me, that is for sure. But look, Jared lives for these moments. He's been waiting for these big games. He's had a few weeks out now with suspension. So he'll be up and primed for this side. Where do they need to improve from last week to win? Look, I think, as I said in the first game, the Sharks and the Cowboys game, the Roosters just need to start better. Look, they played all right just after half time for about a 10-15 minute period, but the game was already over by halftime. It was 24-0 to the Panthers, and the Roosters were never in the game. So they need to start the game well as well to get a victory on Saturday night. And it's just so crucial in finals games. You get that good start and you can build on that. Hopefully if you score first, that'll give you confidence. If you can score again, even more confidence. We saw it with the Bulldogs last week. It gave them confidence. They got out to a pretty decent lead, but Manly were able to claw them back. But confidence is an amazing thing. It is James Tedesco's 250th game. Is that going to be a little bit more motivation to get a win? Look, I don't think it will be, although clubs and players like to get a win for someone who's celebrating a milestone, and 250 games, that's a pretty amazing milestone. So congratulations to James Tedesco for reaching that mark on Saturday night. New South Wales captain, Australian captain. He's won premierships at the Roosters, formerly of the West Tigers as well. But yeah, champion career, 250 games, that's no mean feat in the NRL. But look, it will. I don't think it will be a little bit. I don't think it will be a motivation. But they will want to get a win in his 250th. Also, too, though, there is also a few other players leaving at the end of the year. That man mentioned before, Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, Joseph Suaalii, Joey Manu, Luke Keary, they're all leaving as well. Could that be motivation to get a win and not be the last time that they play football together? Look, again, I think they will want to get the win, as will Manly anyway as well, obviously. But I think that the Roosters, with those players leaving, I guess it gives you a little bit more motivation. I guess it must sit in the back of their heads saying that this could be the last time that we play together, so I've got to do everything possible to win this game for my team. So it could be. How much of an inclusion is JWH? Well, I think that is a massive one, and I do like the fact that he is back, and Spencer Leniu, he goes back to the bench. I mean, what a firebrand he is as well. He's probably a JWH in waiting. Obviously next year, when he'll probably start next year, Spencer Leniu. But he had a massive Origin series, so he'll be pumped for this game. I love seeing his runs off the back fence. Absolutely great stuff. Will last week's game have rattled Sandon Smith? Look, Sandon Smith is a young halfback. I think Trent Robinson would have spoken to him during the week just to give him a little bit more confidence, just to say, look, last week is last week. Let's park that one. Let's learn a little bit from it during training, but then let's park it. Let's forget about it. Let's concentrate on this week. Let's start fresh. Don't worry about that game. Let's start fresh. Let's have a better performance in this game. Don't worry about listening to the media or fans or whatever. Just concentrate on your own game and you'll be right. He'll have Luke Keary beside him to help him around as well. So I'm expecting Sandon Smith to have a better game than last week against the Panthers. Who for the Roosters is a player to step it up and watch and could potentially win it for the Roosters? Who is the key player? Look, I think Joey Manu is the man to step it up in this game. He is a champion player. I did have the thought that potentially when Sam Walker went down that Joey Manu would go into 5/8 and Luke Keary would go into half, but Trent Robinson went with Sandon Smith. I think he is the player. I think if he gets his hand on the ball a lot of times, he can cause some havoc. We have seen it in the past. I think he is the one to watch, and I think if he has a big game, the Roosters have a big game, and they score plenty of points. So I think he is the key. I think he is the one who will have that game in this one anyway as well. I just think we will see a lot more out of Joey Manu than we did last week anyway. I think also Angus Crichton, if he can get to his state of origin form, and look, he has been probably the back rower of the year, so if he was a little bit quiet as well last week, as were the Roosters in fairness, but that's going to be a cracking battle with Hamoli Olakuatu. We saw last week him and Viliami Kikau just go head-to-head at each other all afternoon. So I expect that to happen again this game with Angus Crichton and Hamoli Olakuatu. That'll be a great battle to watch. If we flip over to the Manly side, we all know Turbo, I guess, is the key Tom Trbojevic for Manly, but he isn't firing on all cylinders at the moment. And is that a worry for Manly? Is it a possible target for the Roosters? Will they put up the high balls and just charge and obviously do it legally, but try and take Tommy out in that way with the big hits after the big kicks? Who knows? But look, there was a 20-minute period there where he didn't really look the best, but certainly right at the end when it mattered for Manly, he started that play for Coola's try with a great run up the middle and then the offload. And look, I think last week's one could be potentially better for Turbo for this game. And look, he's not 100%, but he will put that on the back burner and just try and win this game for his team. Can Manly come back again like last week if they fall behind on the scoreboard? Look, they will not want to fall behind on the scoreboard. They did it tough last week to come back and win. They won't want to do it again against the Roosters, because if the Roosters get a sniff, then they will go close to winning the game. And you don't want to do that in finals games. You definitely do not want to fall behind and have to try and score tries and points to get ahead, because it is that nail-biting in finals. You just don't want to do that. You want to lead from the front, and that leads into my next question. What will Manly have learnt from last week despite winning? Well, look, I guess it's their starts again. Just like the last game, Sharks and Cowboys, the starts in these games are so crucial. So they will not want to give the opposition too much advantage and too many points. They will want to start better, no doubt, in this game. Look, DCE, Daly Cherry Evans, he has the experience in big games. But I thought last week Luke Brooks played pretty well in his first finals game. He will be obviously better off for the run in his first finals game. Certainly very unusual, I guess, from the Tigers to say congratulations on playing your first finals game. That came out during the week. That was pretty bizarre indeed. But look, that'll give him more confidence this week playing against the Roosters. Who is Manly's player to watch? Who is the key for them? Well, look, I guess Olakuatu is one out on those edges. He's one to watch, keep under the wraps there. Daly Cherry Evans as well. Cooler as well. What a try he scored last week. So obviously the outside backs for the Roosters will have to be on notice, especially with someone like him with his speed and his evasive skills. And he did score that try last week. That was pretty good. And Tom Trbojevic as well. Obviously, he is a key to this Manly side. We often see Manly lose games when he's not playing, and they win more than they lose when he is playing. So What's my score prediction? Look, I'm going to tip the Roosters to win this game. I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. There's a lot of points in these two sides, I think. I'm going to tip the Roosters to win 30 points to 24. And my first try scorer will be Dom Young. So there you go. That's my thoughts on that game and my little two key predictions, I guess you could say. Look, thank you very much for listening to this. I really hope you appreciated that, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'll be back on during the week with the reviews of these games as well. Don't forget to, on Sunday, 3:15 p.m, the Eels NRLW side is taking on the Roosters at Combank Stadium in Sydney. There is a double header before that game, and that one is the Raiders and Titans. But crucially for the Parramatta Eels, they need to win this game to potentially force their way into the top four. The Roosters, they will want to win this game to secure the minor premiership. So don't forget that one is on Sunday as well. And thank you very much for listening to this. And just a quick recap. My score prediction in the first game, Cowboys and Sharks, is 28-18 to the Cowboys. First try scorer is Murray Tuilagi. And in the second game, the Roosters and Sea Eagles, my score prediction is 30 points to 24 in favour of the Roosters, and Dominic Young is the first try scorer for me. Let me know your thoughts about a score prediction and also a first try scorer as well. Thank you very much for listening. Please share it with your family and friends, and also give the podcast page a follow on Instagram and on Facebook. Enjoy your NRL Finals Week 2 footy. Enjoy the NRLW football as well. And if your team is competing this weekend, good luck to them. And for my Eels on Sunday, go Para!
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.